Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me again today. So today I've decided to share with you one of the reasons why I had to have IVF. So years ago when I was in university, I remember feeling a lump in my lower abdomen and just thinking nothing of it. I didn't go see a doctor for it. So probably one of the reasons why I didn't go to see a doctor for it was in high school I had had lumps removed from my breast and I'd been told that they were not cancerous. So I just brushed this off aside and thought to myself, oh, I guess the lumps have just decided to locate in a different place. Didn't think anything of it, didn't think to go in and consult a doctor. I went on my merry way. But over the years, I noticed that the lump was growing bigger and bigger, but it wasn't causing me any pain. I remember just thinking, oh no, my periods have become heavier and I suffer from terrible cramps. But I'd always had cramps, so I didn't think much of it, and I just thought to myself, I guess I'm just one of those who suffer from terrible cramps. And then in 2009, I remember the pain with regards to my periods became really, really unbearable. So I decided to go in and consult with a gynecologist. So when I got to the gynae then said to me, oh no, you've got fibroids. And this was the first time that I'd ever heard about fibroids. And then he informed me that I've only got one option for treatment, and that treatment was to have surgery. So it was either going to be keyhole surgery or he was going to have to make an incision in my lower abdomen. But unfortunately, at that point, I actually didn't have medical aid, so I could not go ahead and have either surgery done. And then in 2011, I had medical aid. So when I did consult with another gynae, he then informed me that I did need to have the surgery. So one interesting thing that the gynae pointed out when I was having a consultation with him with regards to the treatment for the fibroids was that he said it's likely that I will not be able to give birth naturally and I would have a C-section. And that was the only sort of reference that he made with regards to childbirth or being pregnant or fertility or any effect that this would have on my chances of getting pregnant. So I had the surgery in 2011 in December. I was off for about 6 weeks because that's how long it takes for the recovery. I went on my merry way thinking, oh no, I've gotten rid of these, at least I can just carry on. I did realize that there was a slight improvement with regards to my period cramps as well as the heaviness of my period. I was glad that the sort of dull sort of pressure that I had in my lower abdomen was gone, because I guess the fibroids were no longer present. So the doctor did inform me that when he removed the fibroids, I think he removed about 14, but unfortunately there were so many that he could not get to all of them, but there were sizes that were so small that they wouldn't have any sort of effect, or would I necessarily go on and feel them externally like I was before. So I was happy with those results. So in 2015, my husband and I decided to try for a baby, and we were pretty lucky because we got pregnant, I think, pretty soon after we had started trying. Around about the 10-week mark, I then thought to myself, oh no, I should go through to a gynae for my first gynae visit. I get to the gynae and the gynae says to me, you're 5 weeks pregnant. And I said to him, oh no, I definitely know that I'm not 5 weeks pregnant, because I literally know when it is that I conceived. So I know that I am around about the 10-week mark. So he just says to me, no, it's 5 weeks. In any event, he just brushed it off and says, women, you always think you were pregnant on this day, but not necessarily that. So I went back. I remember going back to the office on that day. And when I got back to the office, I remember feeling a bit of cramps and experiencing a bit of bleeding. I then decided I would rather go back to my original gynae. When I did get there, he then went on and did a scan. And when he did the scan, he then says to me that he can see that definitely I am pregnant, but with regards to the time period that I'm referring to, it does not seem to match up with what he's seeing on the scan. So he then requested that I go through for some blood tests, and the blood tests would go on and measure the pregnancy hormone in my blood. And then he says he would order 2 blood tests. So the one I would have to get it, I remember, probably like on a Monday, and the next one I would have to get it after like 2 days or something like that. He did explain to me and said, if it's increasing, it means everything is going well, but for some reason we just really can't tell what's going on the scan, and probably because it's still, early days. But if the number is decreasing, which is the pregnancy hormone number is decreasing, it actually means that you're probably going to have a miscarriage, or you're actually in the process of having a miscarriage, and that's why you're probably experiencing a bit of bleeding. I remember the first day I went in, I had the test done, and I went in on the third day. And I remember the doctor calling me and him saying that unfortunately the number had actually gone down, meaning I was actually having a miscarriage and I needed to come through to go on and have a DNC. So a DNC is when they go in and clean your womb. After the DNC, I remember thinking it had been with the fibroids that, caused the miscarriage or not. But I remember asking my gynae, and he explained it to me like this, that it is common for people to go on and have miscarriages, especially in the early weeks of pregnancy. And it's most of the time it's for unexplained reasons. So I just carried on, and then we kept on trying for this baby, but nothing really much was happening. And then later on in 2015, I remember feeling this dull sort of pain again in my lower abdomen. I had noticed that my periods had gotten a bit more heavier, and the cramps were actually also, the pain had also increased. So I decided to go consult with my GP, because in my head, I'm not even thinking of the fibroids. I'm thinking, oh no, it must be just something else that's wrong. So I might as well just go through to my GP and let's see what he says. My GP can't really detect what's going on, so he orders a scan. And the sonographer says to me, oh no, you've got fibroids. And I remember thinking, fibroids? I thought I'd gotten rid of those in 2011 and I'm done and dusted, and I can, it would not occur again. And then I might as well go see my gynae again, since this is to do with fibroids. When I went through to consult with my gynae, I obviously shared the fact that we're trying to have a baby, and I don't think having surgery at the moment would be the best sort of route to take, because now I'd have to wait for 6 weeks. I wouldn't be able to, to keep on trying for a baby, and I've already made up my mind, I need this to happen, so I can't have this, myomectomy get in the way. The doctor then explains to me that because of the fact that I've got the fibroids, it would not necessarily mean that if I continue and if I do get pregnant, I'm going to lose the pregnancy because of the fact that I've got fibroids. But because at the moment, probably one of the reasons that I'm finding it difficult to actually fall pregnant was because some of the fibroids were actually obstructing my fallopian tubes. So it meant that no matter how much probably I was trying, it would just be difficult for the sperm to go on through the fallopian tubes in order for it to go on and fertilize the egg. So actually, I had no choice but to actually have, again, this myomectomy done. And I had to go on and do this if I wanted to go on and keep on trying to have the baby. I then had the surgery, and I remember after the surgery, the doctor explaining to me that because of my first surgery, when he went in to do the second surgery, he then realized that I've got a lot of adhesions, and a lot of adhesions were also in and around my tubes, and therefore also causing like further blockage with regards to my tubes. They weren't necessarily all the way shut, but there were bits of adhesions in there that would obviously also go on and play a factor with regards to the sperm being able to go on and fertilize the egg. But he said to me, no, nothing to be alarmed, just keep on trying, you're young enough, but obviously just wait after you've healed from the surgery. And I remember that was one of the things that the doctor kept on saying, you guys are young, you're not that old, and if you just if you're just patient, and it will happen. So I then figured, I might as well just wait and see what will happen. So I go on ahead and I have the surgery. I decided to take the doctor's advice. I rested for the 6 weeks, and then thereafter we then kept on trying. So one of the reasons that I thought to share this story of mine with regards to fibroids is because of the fact that when I just look back, I think to myself, should I have just consulted when I was in university? Should I have just asked even a clinic nurse to say something is going on in my lower abdomen and I don't know what this is about? Because I remember one of the things when I was consulting with my doctor was that he said a lot of hysterectomies actually happen because of the fact that fibroids are just left untreated for a very long time, and by the time a person is seeking help, it's already too late, that the doctors have got no choice but to actually go on and perform a hysterectomy. I remember just thinking to myself, thank goodness that my periods became heavier, that the pain became unbearable, or else I would have just probably ignored it. And already, just looking at my experience, I experienced fibroids twice. And when they came back the second time around, they came back with such a vengeance, and over a short period of time, they had grown just to the size that I had had them the first time around. Meaning they had grown even faster and more viciously the second time around. So how did my fibroids become one of the reasons for my infertility? It was because of the surgeries that I had adhesions. and these adhesions had gone in and affected my tube. My tubes had become partially blocked, and therefore the sperm could not go ahead and fertilize the egg. So in as much as they were not shut all the way, there was not enough free flow for the sperm to actually be able to go on and fertilize the egg. So I would hope by sharing my experience, I would go on and encourage someone to go to that gynae appointment that you've been putting off, to say, oh no, I'll do it later on. Oh no, it's not causing me any pain. Because of the fact that if in the future one would like to go on and try out for a baby, that it wouldn't end up with being informed that because of the fact that you've got these fibroids, unfortunately, we could not go on and save the uterus, and we had to get rid of the uterus. Just taught me to say, if there's something wrong, go in and have it checked out. You'd rather know, because if you're coming from a place of knowledge, you would know how to go on and act. So I'm just hoping that by me sharing my story, we would go on and create that ripple effect that I spoke about, where we would go on and spread awareness. Because the more aware we are, the more empowered we are, and the more we're able to go on and take control of our own body. So I'd hope you join me again as I continue to share my story, and that we would go on and keep on having those conversations.